explained to you, have no interest. They are away from the supplier as well as the buyer or user of that service or product. So, uh, so here is a definition of accreditation. The next slide has come. And now,
Recording in progress.
so I have been able to join back on the laptop. Oh, it goes again. Okay, let me stay with my mobile. So this is a third-party attestation. Again, like certification, accreditation bodies, and I'll explain what those accreditation bodies are, have to be third-party. They cannot have an interest in the activity which is going on. Related to conformity assessment body, please note this. It is third-party attestation only of conformity assessment body. And what is a conformity assessment body? An inspection body is a conformity assessment body because it assesses conformity, inspects and assesses conformity. Certification body is a conformity assessment body. It assesses conformity to a standard. Even testing lab is a conformity assessment body because it tests the product as per a requirement, or even a medical lab. It tests as per against certain parameters. So these are called conformity assessment bodies. And this applies, as I was trying to make it clear to you, so that later on we distinguish between accreditation of NAAC and this kind of accreditation, that this only applies to third-party bodies. It applies to labs, it applies to inspection bodies, audit bodies, it applies to certification bodies. This is very important. So you don't have to confuse it with accreditation of NAAC, education accreditation, or NBA in education, or accreditation of healthcare. I'm sure many of you heard of the name NABH, which was a sister body for me when I was CEO of NABCB. NABH is also a Board of Quality Council of India. It accredits hospitals. So the difference is that NABH goes directly to the hospitals and assesses them and accredits them. NAAC goes directly to the universities, assesses them and accredits them. That is the accreditation of NAAC and NABH. However, in our case, in case of an ISO word, as I may call it, we do not go to the industry directly. We do not go to the industry directly. As an accreditation body,
just a second. Dr. Rajesh Khurana. Dr. Rajesh Khurana, can you please mute yourself?
As NABCB, I would not go to the industry. I would not come to the university. A third-party body will come, which will be accredited by me. So we were one level removed from the industry. Industry doesn't mean manufacturing.
Dr. Rajesh Khurana, Anil sir, 1 second, hold on, 1 second. Dr. Rajesh Khurana, if you are listening us, can I request you to kindly keep your phone on switch off mode, and to all colleagues, please keep your microphone on switch off mode. Otherwise, the speaker will be disturbed. Please carry on, sir.
Yeah. So, as an accreditation body, NABCB does not go to university, does not go to hospital, does not go to a manufacturer. A third-party body goes, which is in turn accredited by NABCB. So we are one level removed from the industry. That's why the accreditation of education and accreditation of healthcare, as it is practiced today, actually for us is certification, because as a third-party body, you go directly to the university or you go directly to the hospital. Please understand this difference. So do not confuse the accreditation I am talking about with NAAC accreditation or NABH accreditation. Next slide, please. So now the question is, who supervises this certification globally? You know, ISO 9001 certificates are being issued all over the world. Who is supervising them? Who is supervising the certification bodies? Are they doing their job properly or not? Who knows? Who does that? Now, please remember one thing, which I pointed out right in the beginning, that if ISO logo is present on your certificate, you can be sure your certificate is not genuine. Because ISO does not certify. Please remember that. ISO, International Organization for Standardization, which is based in Geneva, it only produces standards. It does not certify anything at all. So if somebody says that I am authorized by ISO, or somebody is using ISO logo, you should know that this is not a proper certification body. He is trying to cheat you. He's not properly authorized. So so that is one thing. So who will again the question is, okay, if ISO doesn't do that, who does that? Fortunately for us, there is a global system. There is an international body called International Accreditation Forum, IAF. It was established in 1993. It's complete. In fact, is today it is celebrating. Yesterday it celebrated, or the day before, it celebrated 30 years of its existence. It is an association of accreditation bodies. So all the accreditation bodies around the world, like ISO is a membership body, all the standards bodies are members. For example, BIS from India is a member. Similarly, from various countries, all the accreditation bodies, ISO kind of accreditation bodies, please remember, not NAC, not NABH. The ISO kind of accreditation bodies are members of IAF. From India, NABCB, whose CEO I was, is a member of IAF. Similarly, there's another body called International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. This was started as a conference in as far back as 1977. It became a formal body in 1996. And it covers lab and inspection. So when we talk about one-time audit or an inspection, it is covered under ILAC. IAF covers only certification. Certification means continuing assurance. You get a 3-year certificate, there will be surveillance. After after 3 years, the certificate will get renewed. Inspection means one time. I come, I do an inspection, I give you a report, and I go away. So ILAC is the body which is for inspection and testing also. Testing is not our topic today. Testing labs, as I said, medical labs, testing labs, there are something called calibration labs. So ILAC covers these two activities. And again, it's an association of accreditation bodies. Both IAF and ILAC, incidentally, both of them are merging, and probably in 2025, they'll be a single organization. And from India, there are today 5 member bodies. NABCB, NABL is one. There is QAI and there is FDAS. There are 4 bodies, in fact, which are members of IAF and ILAC. But for inspection, only NABCB is there. Other 3 bodies, NABL, QAI, FDAS, today do not undertake accreditation of audit or inspection bodies. Only NABCB does. So as far as you are concerned, for your purposes, for the purpose of NAC advisory, the local accreditation body is only one, NABC, as of today. Tomorrow, the scene may change because there's no bar on setting up an accreditation body also. Tomorrow, I can set up an accreditation body also. In fact, many people have been asking me, why don't you set up an accreditation body with you so much experience? But I'm not interested. Now I'm interested in retired life rather than being very, very active. So this is the system. And they have developed a system of evaluation through regional bodies. There are regional bodies also. Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation is a regional body here. And in our word, we have a saying, which you may find funny. We say, in God we trust, rest all have to show evidence. Yes. So everybody gets evaluated. IAF evaluates regional bodies evaluated accreditation bodies evaluate audit bodies or certification bodies evaluate you as an organization. So you can see the entire chain, there are evaluations. So whatever be my CV or biodata may say, I have actually undergone an evaluation at the level of IAF, etc. The good thing is that ISO has an MOU with IAF and ILAC. So they work in a certain way, in a coordination. IAF, ILAC recognize ISO standards and they say we'll follow ISO standards. So they have certain MOU and certain cooperation. But please, again, I'll remind you, ISO does not certify. ISO has no role in certification other than providing standards. That's it. Beyond that, it has no role at all. Now, the issue is that this IAF-ILAC system, which looks quite beautiful, is voluntary. Please remember this word again. It's a voluntary system, which means if I have a certification body in India, if I want to get accredited, it's my free will. There's no legal requirement that I should get accredited. For you, there's a legal requirement. You must get UGC approval. For me, there is none. For you, it is being said by certain people that in 5 years' time, you must. There's nobody telling me this as a certification body. Even as an accreditation body, nobody is telling me that I should become a member of IAF or APAC. Nobody, there's no bar, there's no legal requirement. So this is a voluntary system. Please remember that. There's no, and that is where the second problem. One, we do not have a regulation. And since this is a voluntary system, so there are certification bodies which say, why should I go for accreditation? Or why should I take accreditation from NABCB? I'll go and take accreditation from some XYZ. We don't know whether that XYZ exists or not. And that is the problem which you people are facing. And that's the problem which NAC Advisory is trying to address. Next slide, please. So here is the accreditation system. Again, there are two international bodies, as I said, IAF and ILAC. IAF covers certification of all kinds, personal certification, process certification, product certification, management system certification, all kinds. And ILAC covers labs, testing, medical calibration, as well as inspection bodies or one-time inspection, what is called one-time inspection. And the regional body for our region is Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation, APAC. There are similar bodies in other continents. There is one in Europe called European Accreditation Cooperation. There is one in Americas called Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation. There are more than one in Africa, somehow has three bodies. One is called African Accreditation Cooperation. One is called ARAC, which is Arab Regional Accreditation Cooperation, which covers both Asia as well as Africa, parts of, as you can understand, they are Arab countries. And there is something called SDAC, which is some community within Africa. And these people have this evaluation system leads to what is called a mutual recognition arrangement. Suppose I get evaluated as NABCB and I am successful in that evaluation. I sign an MRA in APAC first and then in IAF, which means that my accreditation is equivalent to what is accreditation available outside. And I'm happy to say that both NABCB, NABL, QAI now and FDA's four bodies, which I showed you the names, they have all signed MRAs. They are internationally equivalent. So there's no difference between NABCB or UK's accreditation body or Germany's accreditation body or American accreditation body. So at least we are one set of people who are breaking that myth that foreign is good. We are as good as foreigners. In certain cases, we are better than foreigners. I can assure you that I was once in a meeting, India-US trade dialogue, and USA was saying they will evaluate accreditation bodies for food in various countries. And I was telling them, in your country, there is not a single accreditation body at that time which was having international equivalence for food. I was having international equivalence of food at that time. I'm talking about 8 years ago, 2015. And you are telling me that you will come and assess me. I mean, what a joke it was, actually. So we could say that. So as I said, that India is, very fortunate that our accreditation bodies, NABCB, NABL, QAI, FDS, all of them are internationally equivalent. They have signed the MRAs. Next slide, please. So this is a pictorial one. It's a good, demonstration of how it operates. As I said, IAF operates, evaluates the regional bodies. Regional bodies evaluate accreditation bodies. Accreditation bodies also have a standard, ISO 17011. We implemented 17011 in NABCB. And then there are, accreditation bodies evaluate certification bodies or inspection bodies or labs to international standards. All of them ISO, as you can see. I've listed those 4 or 5 standards. The one which is of interest to you is ISO 17021, which applies to those bodies which are giving 9001 certificate, and ISO 17020, which will be doing green audit. One time audit to your place, they come down, they inspect you, they give you a report and a certificate, and they go away. That's it. But certification body which gives you 9000 is there with you for 3 years. It will come again and again, twice more. And at the end of 3 years, it will say, do you want a renewal of your certificate? They'll come again. If you say yes, they will come again. And at the bottom is you, the university, or the product, or the process, organic product, say electric iron, by water bottle. You are seeing ISI mark on water bottles in front of you. If you are having one, please have a look at that. Or a management system like 9000 in an organization. So bottom is that. And I have put in red 2 standards which are of interest to you, ISO 9001 and ISO 21001, which is educational quality management system. Now, please appreciate the beauty of this system. Now, imagine if you are ISO 9001 certified by a certification body which is accredited by NABCB, NABCB which is evaluated by APAC, APAC which is evaluated by IAF, then your certificate is internationally equivalent. It should be internationally acceptable. You are possessing a certificate which will be internationally acceptable. This is actually true. A lot of foreign buyers ask for, do you have an ISO 9001 certificate? Are you certified to 9001 or 14001 or 45001 for occupational health and safety? And those certificates are considered by buyers. Now, look at it more. Suppose this is product at the bottom, although it doesn't concern you because you're a university, but still, to understand the beauty of this system, suppose the bottommost is a product, let's say electric iron. Now, let's say the standard is also international, and there is actually electrical safety international standard available. So if your iron is certified to an international standard, and it is certified through this system, tested through a lab, accredited lab, certified by a certification body which is accredited, and this entire system operates, that electric iron should be able to move around and be acceptable in every country. And actually this is being used in, say, Europe. When you go to Europe, a product can move from one country to another. And this is being used in free trade agreements. I have been part of free trade negotiations myself. This system is being used in free trade negotiations to accept products from each other. That, okay, if you certify in India an electric iron to this standard through this system, we'll accept that electric iron without any check. This is actually being used. So accreditation of this kind is important in international trade as well. This is the beauty of this system. So please remember, if you get a fraud certificate, it's not internationally acceptable. You get a good certificate the way it has been now said in advisory. You can claim, you can go on rooftops and say, I have an internationally equivalent ISO 9001 certificate or an ISO 22001 certificate. Next slide, please. So now the question is, what are the risks that you are facing, you have been facing? How to establish three things: that certification body is authentic, it is competent, it has to have competence, it has to have educational people into its panel. I can't come and audit you. I don't understand how education operates. There has to be somebody who understands how education operates, how HEI operates. Schools operate differently, universities operate differently. And it follows a standard process. There has to be common process. It cannot be that I come to your university and do 2-day audit. Somebody else comes, he says, I'll do 5-day audit. Somebody else says, I'll give you an half-a-day audit. It should not happen. So the process is to be standardized as well. Now, the problem that you'll face is many times, and you are still facing, is as a body will come to you and say, oh, we will give you a green certificate, or we'll give you a 9000 certificate. First question to ask is, are you accredited? Because a lot of unaccredited certificates are there in the market. You can't trust that certification body or that audit body because you don't know what are its credentials. Has somebody seen its credentials? Is it competent? Does it follow the process? We don't know. Second thing is that audit is always against a criteria. Now, the certificates that I showed you, there was a certificate on green audit which did not mention any criteria. How can there be an audit without a criteria? There cannot be fundamentally an audit or a certification without a standard or a criteria. So please remember that if your certificate says green audit without giving criteria, it must give as a minimum reference to the NAC criteria. The NAC criteria, clause so and so to so and so of university manual so and so. At least this much it should give. It's not giving that. That means that fellow is, he's not an authentic person. He doesn't know what an audit is. The biggest problem that we are facing in the market is there are private accreditation bodies. Accreditation body I'm talking of, NABCB like, in the market, who show some address in UK, some address in US, and you get carried away by that address. But they are not members of IAF. They are not part of IAF system. They are outside the IAF system. We do not know who they are because nobody has checked them. Please remember, IAF has an evaluation system. Right now, I am an IAF evaluator. I am evaluating a region, Inter-American Accreditation Corporation. Right now, the evaluation is going on. And that region is evaluating an accreditation body. And that accreditation body is operating, evaluating a certification body. In fact, I was part of this exercise way back in 2014. I was in a room where the accreditation body of Mexico was evaluating a certification body across the table. By the side of the Mexican accreditation body, I was sitting because I was gone on behalf of APAC, the regional body. And by my side was sitting an IAF person who was evaluating me, what I am doing. So as I said, in God we trust, rest all I have to show evidence. I showed evidence in 2014 to IAF that I am a good evaluator. So this is the biggest problem. This is the biggest problem, that whole lot of certification bodies, the certificates that I showed you were all outside IAF system. How could I tell looking at the certificate? Because I know the names of all accreditation bodies around the world, generally speaking. I don't have to even go to IAF website. I can look at the certificate and tell you whether it's a genuine certificate or not. My email ID was there in my presentation. Any of you wants to check his certificate, just send me a mail, scan copy of your certificate, and I'll tell you whether it's a genuine or not. Or send it to Dr. Pani, he can consult me and we can tell you. And unfortunately, we have to say that we are one of the countries with low integrity. Whole lot of certification bodies here are issuing certificates of ISO, not only ISO In the COVID time, they issued certificate of CE marking, which is a European mark, regulatory mark. They issued certificate of US FDA compliance. All kinds of certificates are being issued without any authorization. The market was a mess actually. And most stakeholders do not understand this system. I'm sure for you, all this is new, absolutely new. What is this? You can imagine now that behind one paper certificate, say that's an international certificate. So this is the problem today. And this is a problem that you are facing because you do not know the system. Agencies, private agencies come to you, they tell you, oh, we'll give you a green certificate, we'll give you without an audit, we'll give you a 9,000 certificate for 3,099 rupees. You know, all rate lists also, unfortunately, I always call them Bata certificates. Well, like Bata shoes, their pricing is 3,999, 4,999, 5,999. I've seen any number of, you know, rate lists like this, which are showing these rates, but they are all non-genuine. Next.
अरे
Next
भाई
slide.
मैं बोल रहा था आपको, आपका फोन बिजी आ रहा है।
ये एक प्रोग्राम चल रहा है
किस चीज का?
Next
सर्टिफिकेशन
slide, please.
ग्रीन कैंप
Next slide, please. Can we shift to the next slide? Yeah. So just to as a brief, I would like to tell you what are the contents of a certificate which you should look at. Number one, it should give your name and address as an organization. It should give scope of your certification. Just today, I saw a certificate which says provision of educational service. I returned that certificate to the certification body. I said, no, this is not acceptable. This is too open-ended. Provision of educational services means what? They can provide school services also? No. Please describe the boundaries. You don't have to list out every department and every degree you are offering, but say provision of management, medical, engineering, of arts, whatever. And at what level? Undergraduate, postgraduate, doctoral. Some idea. I also told him there are universities which are affiliating universities. So you should know there are purely single location universities, they are affiliating universities. You are auditing the affiliating process also. So it should give you some broad range of your educational service that you're offering. It should also give a standard or normative document. Standard, you don't understand what a standard means. Normative document means any document which specifies requirement. So if NAC criteria specifies green practices, that becomes a normative document. Please remember that. So it should give either 9001 or 21001. Or if it says green, then it should specify. As I said, simply saying green certification or green audit is not enough. It should specify green audit as per which, green certification as per which criteria. That criteria either is in NAC criteria, 4 or 5 requirements are there. It should have a date of issue, and normally these certificates are 3 years, but the one-time inspection certificate will have no validity. It's a one-time inspection. On that day you are compliant, that's all. So if you get a one-time green certificate, you can't get one-time 9001 certificate. There is only certification. But for green, because it's not prescribed in the NAC, green certification is not written. It's written green practices. So green practices can be, I can come to you, inspect you, give you a certificate. Yes, you are complying with the criteria of NAC today. Tomorrow what happens, I don't know. Certification means continuing assurance. So certification system can be developed based on the NAC criteria. If NAC wishes to, I suggested to NAC, we can do that if you wish, but it's not necessary. So typically a 9001 or a 21001 or a 14001 certificate will have only 3 years. Nobody can vary this. There's no provision that any certification body can vary this period. Next. It should have an identification number to identify. Some number is CB, certification body will give some number. Name and address of that certification body, who is issuing that. Typically, it will have a logo. I'll show you some more certificates after this. It will have a logo. It will have the accreditation body's logo. That's the important thing. It must have the accreditation body's logo. That shows that it is accredited. Because without accreditation, it cannot use that logo. That shows that it is competent, it has been evaluated as per an international standard, it is sort of authorized to issue that kind of certificate. There is even an IF mark, because we are members of IF, but that's optional. So please remember that if IF mark is there, very good for you. But if it's not there, no worries. It's optional, it may or may not be there. But if you get an accreditation body logo, you can be sure that your certificate is absolutely okay. And there is something called a scheme logo. If there is a scheme which is not applicable in your case, sometimes there are certification schemes like organic certification, of a PIDA, or there are certain certification scheme, then the certification scheme owner's logo is also present. For example, if NAC was to agree to start a green certification program for campuses, or even AIU, now I'm making a suggestion to Dr. Mittal, it is possible that AIU can create a program for green campus certification, proper certification. I can help you in that. In that case, AIU logo will also be on the certificate if it's a scheme owner. So that's what scheme owner means. Next. Here are some couple of good certificates that I found for you. Here is a certificate issued. As you can see the logo of the certification body right on top. The name is there, COAE. I think that's the name of the certification body. And you can see ISO 9001 reference. You can see the scope, provision of education. It's written there, providing undergraduate programs in arts, humanities, social sciences, commerce, and science disciplines, etc., and postgraduate tutorial programs, etc. So it's written there. You can see the validity also of the certificate. You can also see NABCB logo where I was. You can see also IF logo here. And you can see the certification body logo. So this is an internationally acceptable ISO 9001 certificate. With this certificate, you can go to any part of the world and show this certificate and be confident that this certificate is acceptable. In case somebody in USA tells you, what is the certificate? I don't understand what is NABCB, etc. You can tell him, there is an accreditation body. In fact, US has more than one in your country. Here is the address, here is the name. Please ask them, and they'll tell you this certificate is equivalent internationally. So we have been obliged, as accreditation body, we are obliged to say that. If somebody asks us, is UK accreditation equivalent to yours? Yes. Is Singapore accreditation equivalent to yours? Yes, because we have signed the mutual recognition arrangement. If we don't say that, we are breaching that requirement. So here that's one of the certificates. Next, please. Here is another certificate, which is a green audit certificate. You can see here, this is a green audit certificate. Now you can see that it refers to NAC here. You can see below the yellow highlight, NAC, it's written as per directives of NAC. I have suggested to them to make it more precise in terms of reference to NAC criteria. But this is a proper green audit certificate, which is now being issued. As you can see, there's an NABCB logo, there's an ILAC logo also there. Now these are being issued after the NAC advisory has been done. Some agencies have gone to NABCB. And let me also tell you one thing. In India, a lot of foreign accreditation bodies operate as far as certification is concerned. So you will find certificates with NABCB logo. You can find certificates, some other logos also, which will also be acceptable. But in case of inspections, there are hardly anybody operating here. So generally speaking, it will be NABCB. Inspection multinationals are really not operating here. So you will find only inspection bodies which have NABCB accreditation. Next, please. Here is another certificate. Certificate of registration. As I was saying, there are other accreditation bodies which are there in India, operating in India. Here is one example. You can see at the bottom, there's IAS. This is a US-based accreditation body. IF logo, of course, is common. So IAS is also signatory to IF MRA, like NABCB, and therefore this accreditation is equivalent. In fact, when I was helping draft the advisory, first I wrote NABCB accreditation, then I deleted that because I thought if the university is holding already a valid certificate 9001 with say IAS, why should I say that no, you change this to NABCB? So although NABCB is not happy with me on this, but I did that because I didn't see the need why I should bother a university which has already got a proper certificate. My concern was getting the people who have got unauthentic certificates convert into an authentic certificate. So here is a third certificate, and on top you can see it says certificate of registration. As I told you earlier also, in US certification is called registration, and since this is a US accreditation body, that's how the certificate is called. This is Mewar University having this certificate. Next. So now another thing which has happened in recent times, IAF, as I said, is International Accreditation Forum. They have created a global directory. Very interesting. Earlier, you would wonder, where would I verify a certificate? Where can I go? Some people used to write to me from Brazil or from Africa or from Europe. This is the certificate given to us by an Indian manufacturer. Can you validate this certificate? Is it genuine or not? Now, as per international standards, each certification body which issues the certificate has to have a provision on its website to verify the certificate issued by it. But now IAF has gone ahead and created this. I have given you the link, iafcertsearch.org. If you have a 9001 certificate, it should figure in this directory. If it is not figuring, please go to this directory. Check your certificate. If it's not there, go back to your certification body and fire them. Why my certificate is not in the global directory? This global directory does not cover 21001. Please remember that. So you will not find 21001 certificate here. But 9001, 14001, 50001, these three which are referenced in the NAC advisory, these certificates should be on this website today. It's compulsory for a certification body to put its certificate into this directory. So you can today verify, and this is very authentic data because it comes from IAF, it comes from the data from accreditation bodies, from IAF's own data, and from certification bodies which are under the IAF system. So this is very, very authentic. Please go, if you have an ISO 9001 certificate, please go to this directory, search your certificate. If your certificate doesn't figure there, call your certification body and ask them why your certificate is not in the global directory. Now, this is even more valid. If you give your certificate to a foreign country or a foreign person, you can tell them, please go and see them. Next slide, please. So what do I recommend at the end? This is, I think, the last slide. I would say that you must get an accredited certificate. Accreditation body logo must be there. Preferably NABCB. Local is always better. There's more oversight. There's more directly accessible to you. But as I said, IAF or ILAC MRA signatory will also do. You can check up which is an AB, which is a member of IAF or ILAC on these links. I have given you two links, IAF as well as ILAC. You can go there and check up with whether these accreditation body, whose logo is there on your certificate, are a member or not. Scope should cover, it should specifically mention, especially a green audit, 9001 certificate will always mention 9001. But if somebody writes provision of educational service, please tell him this scope is not proper, because that will land you in trouble sooner or later. Your certificate will be not trusted. But in green audit, certainly as a minimum, they should reference NAC criteria. They can reference more. We have given options. The minimum requirement is, please understand this clearly. 9001 is clearly understood. It's a certification. There are certification bodies who are issuing this certificate. 21001, same thing. There are certification bodies which are issuing. Green audit is a slightly gray area. As a minimum, you should have criteria, NAC criteria 713 to 718, I think. These are the criteria. University manual. I'm talking university manual. The NAC advisory gives more options. That is to encourage you to go towards international standards. Like 9001 is international standard, 14001 is for environment management. If environment management system you implement, it should cover all those NAC criteria. Please tell the certification body these 5 criteria of NAC should be covered in our system if you are using a consultant also. 50001 is on energy management, 14001 is on environment management. So this was a